Showtime!
It's about that time.
Let's go!
You're right where you need to be. This is GCOM Radio.
Hardest radio station on the planet. Yeah!
Powered by Lyfeblood.com.
We certified.
And hosted by Nova Phoenix.
Give them that flavor.
Oh man, what is the deal? Oh man, we here once again. Thank you guys. I'm throwing out those thanks real early to those that's tuning in right now and listening to GCOM Radio. Yes, I'm your host, Nova Phoenix, the host of GCOM Radio on iHeartRadio, and we are here to do another episode 137. It's going to be a short one. I swear it's going to be a short one, folks. I just wanted to get on. And here's my co-host right here, of course, coming in and meowing his way onto the show. Please, Pac. Oh, by the way, his name is Pac Khan. Love my cat. Sometimes he is super noisy. If you don't know, he's a beautiful cat. I'll say it like that. But he's even more beautiful 3 o'clock in the morning when he thinks he's the only one that needs to be up and about. Yeah, and he's meowing away. But yeah, anyway, how's your week have been? Please tell me some good things that happened and some bad things that happened. You learned your lesson and you're moving on, being a bigger and better person. Hopefully, if you are an entrepreneur in whatever that you're doing, that you're moving forward, you're learning, you're living, you're building and being better founder to whatever task that you're doing, whatever service that you could give to the community, whatever product that you're making. Yeah, I'm all here for the support. I'm all here to give you guys good support. All right, so I guess we can move things along here because, like I said, I'm going to have a short one for you guys because I just have some things to take care of. And, you know, I can't just be on the mic forever. This time around, it's going to be a short one, probably like 30 minutes, 35 minutes tops. And let's just get to it, man. Some of the three big topics that have been happening that everybody's been keeping their eyes and ears on for this past week. As far as Young Dolph, man, upsetting with you what happened to this young rapper Dolph. And I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know as much of his music. I heard of Young Dolph. I heard snippets of some tunes here and there, but I never really got like immersed myself in his young brother, Young Dolph from Memphis. Unfortunately, this man was shot and killed while he was going to a store to get some cookies. So while it continues on, and it's upsetting that we are having this happen to some young rappers out here. And this brother, I think, was about 32. And yo, man, it's just like another example how shit happens in the hood, and especially if you're a hood celebrity and you coming up and you making that. He wasn't as super big, but his name was definitely ringing bells in the hip hop community, especially in the community where he comes from, the hood where he comes from. And unfortunately, you got a fuckboy hater that was for whatever reason had some issues with Young Dolph and felt that whatever issue that he had equated to snuffing out another life. I don't care if he was a rapper or a celebrity. The fact is that you took out another brother and you snuffed out his life. It's the biggest problem that I have, especially when it's something that's so small and irrelevant and minute. Whatever it is that's going on in the hood, when you think back on it and you look at it and you stand back with a sound mind and body and just an impartial, objective individual, whatever things that was going on in the hood, it is nothing. It's absolutely nothing. It is it's water under the bridge. Especially if this dude get caught and he's sitting there for about 20 to 40 years, he's going to be thinking to himself like, God damn, I actually did that over this. And it only sinks in as you sitting in the bang and you have nothing but time figuring out what fuckboy shit that you did. And it's unfortunate that this did happen to my brother, Young Dolph. From what I saw, he was giving away turkeys in the hood. He was doing things for the community. I'm sure, look, not everybody's perfect. Not everybody's angels. They definitely, sometimes they have checkered past, especially if you're poor. You're going to do what you got to do to live. And you're going to do things that you're not going to be proud of. And that all comes with growth, man. There are a lot of people that come out of economically deprived societies, as they come up and they're making their money, they look back on it and they regret the things that they did. But that's what it is when you're coming from, poor neighborhoods. And if he had a checkered past, this is also an example how your past can catch up with you. Your past can come back to haunt you. And you may think it's all good because you're making bread and you want to be in your hood, and then it just happens, man. It just happens out of nowhere. And this jealousy thing is a motherfucker, man. I mean, Lil Boozy was right. I mean, I was watching, everybody knows the DJ Vlad interview with Lil Boozy, and he was talking about how he had to leave his hood and move to Atlanta. That he knows that cats would get at him for some reason when, the cat that you grew up with in grade school and high school. And sometimes it's not the dudes that you came up with in grade school and in high school. Sometimes it's the guys that, your path was the same at one point when you were moving about in the industry and you're hustling, and all of a sudden, for whatever reason, that other individual makes bad choices and seeing you skyrocket, and they hate that. They hate the fact that, damn, this dude was right next to me and we was going toe to toe. He's not mad at the dude, he's mad at himself. But a lot of times, guys, people want to, what's the word I'm looking for? Deflect from their own faults. They want to deflect. They want to place the blame on other folks where that blame is squarely on them. And all that hate, all that pent up frustration that they made bad choices and they're in the situation they're in now, and they probably had a couple runs with Young Dolph, that hate was seething. It was bubbling up in them, and then it comes out in a way. And we got to stop that, especially, when I'm speaking to black people, black folk, that has to be checked in the hood, man, because you ain't getting no brownie points. You ain't getting no hood points for running up on a dude behind him and shooting him and running off. I mean, I don't know who you think is going to give you a pat on the back, give you a medallion on your chest, throw you a couple goddamn cookies, a couple stars for taking another man's life. That's some bullshit. And that don't mean nothing. Man, I tell you, man, I give you more props if you was a soldier on the front line and you were dealing with what black people are dealing with as far as racism, and also you got caught up in the business for defending people. I give you more props. The hood would give you more props. I guarantee you everyone would be behind you if you had an untimely passing because you defended, you protected someone, your daughter, your community, whoever is threatening them. They would hold you up in high esteem, not this hood business. And it makes you think, man. It makes you think when you do come up, you have to have the conversation, man. You want to love your hood from a distance. You want to support your community, but you want to love it from a distance, because at the end of the day, there's always going to be in that hundreds of thousands of people in that hood across America. There's going to be people that's going to be hating for whatever reason. They may not like the verse. They may not like the chick that's paying them extra attention. They may not like the fact that they just simply didn't make the moves that the other dude did, and it's just they just gonna be haters. And hatred goes so far where the only way that they feel that they can deal with their hatred is by taking another life. And I can understand why dudes leave because of this reason. I understand why people leave the hood and they get, their nice place in a nice neighborhood and they don't turn back. I get it. Because when you have these situations, especially if you're trying to turn things around and give back to your community in a lot of different ways, that you can have this thrown back, spat in your face. So if you live someplace else and you live in a nice neighborhood, yeah, give back to your community. That's what's up, because that's how you came up. The people that look like you are dealing with issues and situations that are unique to you, especially when it comes to black folk. I get it. But is this what you're going to have to be dealing with? The other thing is we also want to keep in mind, sometimes they hate and that negative energy can build in the hoods because of how we carry ourselves as artists. Because a lot of time as artists, as rap artists, you romanticize and promote a lot of the hood episodes that be going on. You be talking about the money, talking about the women, all that, what you getting, talking in a lot of ways reckless, romanticizing the bad shit that happens in the hood. And then people that's still in the hood is like, yo, who this dude talking about? He didn't do it like that way. He not built like that. He wouldn't do it like that. Now you feed it in. Now you're gonna talk what you're gonna talk. You're gonna say what you're gonna say. I get it. But sometimes we have to keep in mind that we have to be a little bit more responsible in the words that we choose to put together when we rap. Now, I understand you're going to talk about things that you did. Okay, I understand. But don't romanticize. It ain't nothing to romanticize. Ain't nothing to make yourself some sort of a grade A character in some action movie. All of a sudden, you're going to come out at the end of the movie unscathed, and you dusting yourself off, and you walking into the sunlight, into the horizon. No, don't make it like that. That's another thing that feeds into that hatred. You got to talk about all the bad things that, okay, you could talk about it and say, yeah, man, I came out of that. I could have been in another situation. Just be humble. Humble yourself. But when you romanticize something and you're thinking of that song as some sort of action movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger as your co-partner or whatever, your co-defendant, that's not how it goes in the hood, man. A lot of people do, and I don't know how they separate themselves. But people don't do these things in the hood because they feel that it's a cool thing to do. They do it because they have no other choice. And when you got a crying baby in the other room and you don't have any prospects, you don't have any work, you do what's in front of you and you make that sacrifice. A sacrifice on your own life and the people around you. So we got to change the attitude in the hoods across America, man. We got to value your life. And the reasons why you do the things that you're doing is not because you created those conditions. Those conditions are historic to how black people have been living in this country for decades in the prior generations. And now you're in smack dab in the middle of it. You're coming of age. You have a life now where you can use your 5 senses and understand what's happening around you. Now you got to be smart. And you got to come real with what's going on in your music. And you got to be honest with it. People will respect you more if you're honest with your music. Even though you're telling a lot of hood tales, you're honest that this ain't no way to live, that you're going to either end up dead or in jail. But it's not something to treat as some sort of action movie, man. That's for the big screen. That's for TriStar, that's for Universal, that's for Warner Brothers. Leave that to Batman. You know what I mean? That's not the life we live in. We doing it because we had no choice. And you want to live as good a life as you possibly can. And I'm not saying leave people behind. Do what you do, but be real with it, man. That's what a lot of what people don't like when you try to live something you're not. You know what I mean? Yeah. So my condolences, and I hate saying these words, man. I hate saying these words because I feel like it's too frequent. And all I can think of is Nipsey, man. It's too frequent, and it's not. I just get tired of it. There's got to be a certain internal law, man. At the very last, the last thing you should choose. If you're caught up in situations like that, is to take another brother's life. Because there are too many obstacles stacked against you as a black man in this country. You don't need to take another brother's life. If you in the mix and you in the, I get it. That's last resort. If you have to go in and make a choice like that. But straight up, the law should be in the community. Straight up, we not going to go there. And figure out how you're going to get out of the situation. Because, again, people that get into that shit don't stay in it. And you got to keep it real with yourself as a black man in this country, in your community. And also, if you figured something, your way out of that, whether it's you got a wicked jump shot, or you selling crack rock. So I'm not going to tell you and sit here and be like, you're doing terrible. Oh my God. And I'm going to I'm some sort of moral god, moral police, and I'm gonna be like, you shouldn't be, because I'm not offering you no alternative. I'm not offering you an option B. Let me offer you an option B, have the infrastructure set up, and then if you still choose to do some F-boy business, then I'm gonna get on your ass. But I'm not gonna stand on some high moral soapbox and then tell you shouldn't be doing that, because there's nothing else out there for you. Yeah, I know the youth ain't gonna be listening to me if I'm telling you can't do that, young man, like an OG. Then what else am I offering? That's all they have. So I think it's important where I'm gonna check the community on this and say, hey, the community, listen, you gotta think up of some ways together. Don't coexist. Think yourself as a community. If you love your hood so much, you got to talk to the dude next to you, understand how these things are stacked against you, people that look like yourselves, and think up of a plan to get the fuck out together. Not like wolves in the jungle, wolves in the woods. You understand what I'm saying? You guys got to work together. Be like, yo, this dude's from this corner, that dude's from that corner, that dude's from that gang, that dude's understanding the history. Damn, I know we got beef, but understand the bigger picture. You get what the fuck is going on. You watch the news just like I watch the news, and it's not something that you got to be like, damn, now that shit's going on. You saw Channel 7 News? You saw Channel, that's fucked up how they doing black people. So if you know how they doing black people like that, then what you gonna do about it? Change it around in your community. And use that same energy where you won't get at each other on some blocks you don't even own, and you want to step to your local politician and be like, what you going to do to change this? Do whatever you must, man. Because it makes no sense for you to be dealing with what you're dealing with on the outside, and then all of a sudden you're going to get at each other like rabid dogs on the inside. They don't even have to do anything. Racists don't have to do nothing. The system that's set up, that the odds are stacked against you, they don't have to do nothing. They just watch you from like fishing in a fishing boat. And they only throw up their hand. Well, I didn't tell them. I gotta lock them up, right? I gotta lock them up because they're menaces to society. Condolences to Young Dolph. To the family, to Young Dolph's family, to all close friends, the people that he worked with in the business. Excuse me. And I think we shouldn't take the loss of his life in vain. And this should be a guiding light, a message that people can use, an example that people can use on what not to do and how you move forward. Is the people in the community gonna have to talk to each other? Because you took out your hope. You took out your opportunity to get people jobs. You snuffed it out. You cut off your nose to spite your face. Anyway, yo, I remember last show I spoke about the bra, and it was something that I saw an article on, and I was just like, hey, wait a second. You know, this bra situation, you know, who thought up of the bra? I'm sorry, I'm trying to fix my mic. Who thought up of the bra or whatever like that? And, I'm saying men thought up the bra, and then that's why women look the way that it does, right? So I decided to just do a little bit of reading. Outside of that, I'm like, let's see the origins of the bra, right? So excuse me, because I just don't want to dump on men just to dump for men's sake. I try to be as fair as I can. Right, but just looking at the history, the origins of the bra, man, it is just wild. Like, say, in 1859, an early patent for a breast pad and preparation shield was created by a person named Henry S. Lesher. Okay, that guy from Brooklyn, New York. They say it was a terrible design. It was made of rubber, and they said it was made of rubber because it would actually be pumped so it can make the breast even. Right. In 1859, this patent was made. 1863, Lumen L. Chapman of Camden, New Jersey, had a patent for an improved corset before the actual, as we understand it, how bras came to existence, how women kept their together was the use of corsets. Those how should I say, those fabric or the inner underclothing design where it kept the woman's shape together. And it was something that was started from the waist all the way up to the top of the breast, of course, with the cups and all that. But it was very basic, and it caused more problems than it did for women on how it was made and how it put things together. You know what I mean? It was made of metal, and it was uncomfortable, and it hurt, and over a lifetime of wearing corsets, it disfigured women's bodies. So this guy made a better version, which didn't really work out. But then in 1914, a New York debutante by the name of Mary P. Jacob issued a patent for a tackless brassiere, I think it was. She used handkerchiefs, ribbons, and pins. And of course, it was a rejection of the old fashioned corsets, as I said. But through time, men and women contributed to the development of what we know as the bra today, whether it's like a push-up bra, a strapless bra, so many different types of designs that were happening in terms of bras. So, can I leave it just on men alone? You know what? Understanding history in a patriarchal society, how a lot of men kind of devalue women's position, and the women couldn't take jobs and they couldn't really do much because everything was flowing through the man, right? Anything is only valid if a man makes it, and I'm pretty sure through the decades there were men that kind of taken over and said they could do a better job than women. But when you actually look at it and you see all these patents, I'm sure that certain influences were made through the decades from one to the other, 10, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, up to the present day, where the bra is what it is today. So yeah, it's just not a man. Now, is certain things because we're in a patriarchal society, that certain things kind of like lean towards being a little bit more. It caters more to men's desires. Sure, the push-up bra. What do you think? Women are pushing up their bra for other women? Nah, they're doing it for men. All right, when they're low-cut cleavage, they're doing it for themselves. They're doing it for men. So a lot of things, I'm just saying, question the way we do things, the words that we say, the clothes that we wear, in everything, in every facet of society, something from some origin came from how men moved about in this society. Just to question things. That's why I brought it up when I was reading that article. I'm like, wow, the strapless bra. Okay, cool. All right. And how it kind of like bled into even fashion in general, like in business wear. And sometimes I say in business wear, it could be a little, this is my personal opinion. I'm just saying, I'm not trying to, you see business wear, you're like, damn, that's kind of low cut for business wear. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if that's appropriate for business wear. And it's just some inner thoughts that I have as I move about when I'm in offices and I'm watching people, right? I'm watching people, how they dress from day to day, and I'm like, I don't know about that. You could, because I'm saying this is the conversations that we have. These are the conversations on what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. What's adequate, fitting for business attire, and what's not. And especially when it comes in terms of how women dress, right? They say everybody knows HR has their business etiquette and the attire that you should wear. Certain things are okay, certain things are not okay. Like men, they're never gonna walk into an office with a designer tank top. It doesn't happen. We're not wearing designer tank tops. Like we take off our jacket and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to expose a little shoulder. You know what I mean? We're not going to wear pants that are too tight, right? Slacks, fitted for men, nice and round to show the ass. Men don't do that. We know how men dress. Yo, my wife was listening to me. She was just giving me the business. What are you talking about? Maybe I should know. I'm like, huh? What? I didn't expect that, but I should get that wrong. But whatever. But you know what I'm talking about, right? Men don't wear certain things that could be questionable. Like, hey, let me wear this little, expose a little button down, 2 buttons down, right? Show a little bit of chest hair, right? Men don't do that. We don't do that at most of what you see men doing when it comes to business, where we're rolling up our cuffs and we're 2 buttons like at the top, like give a little air, you know, you want to just loosen up, not be so tight with the tie knot. You know, we don't do things that kind of like that flirts on the line of I don't know, of enticing the opposite sex, let me say. You know what I mean? But when I see business wear for women, I'm like, yo, it's word? That's okay. That's fine. I'm just saying, have that conversation with people at your job, man. Have that conversation with your coworker, with your brothers, sisters, and just see how women's attire just differentiates itself from men's attire and how they come up on a day-to-day in the office. Right? Yeah, I was in a situation where a woman, I swear straight up, she was in human resources, and I went to go and take care of some business years ago, and all of a sudden her joint was so low cut, and I'm like, it was showing the girls. I'm like, yo, I'm thinking, yo, you can't dress like this. This is human resources. What you trying to? What's this, entrapment? So I'm like, I have this laser focus with my eyes. I'm like going eye to eye at her, and I'm just talking business. Yeah, I'm like, keep your eyes tight, bro. Cause you know what this is. I was like, and all of my mind, I'm having this conversation with this woman, and I'm like, what? Yo, why is she showing all that? Yo, man, come on, stop playing. I know what you do. I know what you're doing. And I was successful. I was surprised I was successful because I left without even taking a small second of a peep. All right. And sometimes I'm like, yo, man, come on. You know what you're doing, right? So yeah, man, that's the deal, man. And we both influencing each other, the sexes, when it comes to the creation of the bra and its different iterations, and you know, spilling over into business attire and all that. And, you know, one thing I can't understand, man, when women will wear it and men look. You know, men, if we're visual creatures, as you say we are, men are going to look. Men are going to look. And it's totally respectful. We're not doing it. Sometimes it just happens. You know, look, if you get inundated with sexual images every single day, it's in the movies, it's in commercials, it involves with selling gum to freaking checkers to light bulbs. We are surrounded constantly by these images and how you're trying to sell a product. I mean, this hypersexual society. So you think that a man that's exposed to this 24/7, watching sports, looking at cars, seeing what products he should buy, and he sees how these commercials are being fashioned in the ways they're being fashioned, and then all of a sudden he goes out, and then all of a sudden you're going to have a problem that the conditioning that he has had over the years, all of a sudden when it acts itself out, oh my God, how could he? I've seen it. The clasping of the shirt. Oh my God. Is he looking? It's not for him. I'm just dressing like this because I want to make myself feel good. I feel beautiful, but don't you dare look. How could you just steal away a couple of looks looking at my cleavage? And this is at work. And it's wild the way human beings think and that we act. It's wild the way, and both sexes, man. It's like, yo, I wasn't trying to, you know. And the things that we say, as far as what women say in terms of respect and boundaries and all that, and then it's almost like, don't look, but I'm gonna wear this. I'm just saying. Don't trip on me. I'm just expressing certain things. Don't look, but hey, I got this cleavage right here. And then the way men are conditioned every day in TV shows and movies and commercials and da-da-da-da. It's like, what? Oh, my God. No, I didn't. And I see men checking themselves like, oh, my God. I see it. And then some men are just blatant. They just totally settled in. And it's like they're talking to the woman and staring at her cleavage too. So it's like, hey, man, Man, come on, wake up. Snap out of it, my dude. Yeah, so, and the other thing, just Kyle Rittenhouse thing, man, it's a travesty. This travesty. Judge Bruce Schroeder, this guy is a disgusting, vile racist, and he played it out as he did, as we all knew when we first took the couple of seconds of that first piece of video footage. He was not a judge. He was Rittenhouse's defense attorney. And I can't believe how this was allowed to go on. I can't imagine. I just can't. I can't believe it. But what I can believe and imagine is after the case and all the charges were dropped, that this Schroeder and Rittenhouse, they were walking away with smiles, man. They were walking away with smiles, and they felt like they did the system the way it did. And it was a classic example how white supremacy can work itself as they work together. And it's what we always talking about as far as systemic racism permeates all of our society. It doesn't matter. Even if you get let into the door, you're going to have to deal with all levels that's within that system of people that have been brainwashed and conditioned into this mentality. And my thing is, I don't know, a lot of people felt like that, it scared people. Oh my God, what are the implications of this? And is this going to aid people? Listen, that's one way of looking at it. But the other unfortunate part, people have to realize that you've actually put the battery in the back of half of America. The people actually fight against injustice. You didn't scare them. You only emboldened them to go even harder. And some of those people in there is going to feel like, hey, listen, if I can't get any justice. See, a civilized society is based on the fact that if any injustice occurs, and the people will get justice in the courts. That's what we all say. Let the courts decide. Let the courts see it. Don't worry, you will get your justice one day. Because those words are being used nullifies vigilantism. It keeps the people in this country at bay. It keeps them calm. It gives them hope. It keeps the country from being the wild, wild west. Because sometimes if you don't have a system put in place for laws, for justice to be practiced, you're going to have a situation where someone of a family members get hurt. All of a sudden, they want to go out and they want their own justice, and they go out there and all of a sudden they shoot or kill the wrong person. How many times have we had that happen? That's why we have courts. We have a rule of law so we can ensure that we don't have vigilantism take over and all of a sudden the wrong people get killed. Right. But if you don't have justice being practiced in a court of law, and it displays itself like the way it was displayed in that courthouse in Judge Bruce Schroeder, and how obnoxiously and disgustingly open he was with his own bias. How now what you're essentially doing is chopping away slowly at people's hope of getting justice in a court of law. And what you actually do is you encourage vigilantism, not on the Rittenhouse side, but everyone involved. People will lose faith. And if people no longer have faith in the system, vigilantism will arise. Not just on the Rittenhouses, but on everyone. So you have a situation where all of a sudden you have a classic case of a Rittenhouse coming in. Rittenhouse comes in and says, hey, I'm going to do law. The people that have seen that case are going to say, well, I'm going to shoot first. Because they know that if I shoot first, if I don't shoot first, I get killed, my family won't get justice. Because I know how that court case played itself out with Rittenhouse and Judge Bruce Schroeder. I know that my family is going to cry over my grave and nothing will be done. So before that happens, I'm going to shoot first. And matter of fact, I'd rather be alive in jail knowing that I stopped someone from hurting someone and stopping the injustice right then and there, instead of me getting killed and all of a sudden I am not served any justice. Other people are going to shoot first, and what you get is chaos. So nobody wins here. Nobody wins. Everybody loses. That's why you have to be careful on who you put in as judges, who your council members are, who your mayors are, who your governors are. Even on a local level, because they play a part and contribute to having justice in your community if something happens, a crime or something or other. You understand what I'm saying? Now, I understand the system is flawed. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and it could be on technicalities or whatever. I get it. And I understand what black people go through in the judicial system. I understand that as well. I get the bias and the inconsistencies and the double standard that happens to black people in the judicial system. I, for one, am for the death penalties, even though I know that there are black people that are on death row that shouldn't be. I, for one, am for the death penalty, and nothing's going to change that. Understanding there is a bias when it comes to how black people are treated in the judicial system. But then there are the open and shut cases where you plainly see that you have the Jeffrey Dahmers, you have all those serial killers, you have those people that did heinous things and deserve the death penalty. So I can't understand even Biden's hands-off attitude, right? There's so many political corners that he could paint himself into, but to me, it deepens the divide amongst Americans and directs the nation down a deep hole of despair when you don't deal with this head on. Now, he said some little bit of words here and there, but something where he could just throw out just to get people's feeling on his take as the president. But you got to be heads on. You got to deal with this heads on. You not only have to deal with this Rittenhouse heads on, but everything else that President Biden is dealing with. Because right now, to me, the Dems are getting eaten up alive. And the Republicans are just forward in their mission. For the life of me, I can't understand, again, how this is not being properly handled in the Biden administration. The Democrats are playing a weak defense, and the Republicans are on the attack. I'm talking about this as an outsider, independent. I'm watching this like a tennis game. And for the life of me, I can't understand how he played. Now, again, my analysis is only two things. Either one, he just has a plain up weak defense that Democrats have always had, or that's just a part of the whole game. That's the only way I can think of this. It's not rocket science when you sit back and you watch the players on the chessboard and you see how people are moving, and you're wondering how some of these not progressive, some of these old-time politicians that have been doing this for decades can't seem to pull it out. One side seems to pull it out with no problem, but the other side is like, They talk the tough game, but then when it's actually you got dogs in the fight, you're in there, as you said, and nothing happens. It's like, okay, so you playing me on this, or you really weaker than you say you're not, right? So that's my thing, and it's got to be handled right. It's got to be handled. One more last thing, and before I go, there was something that happened in my community in New York as a citizen of New York City, man. Yes, I'm a New Yorker. So there was something that happened as like 40, 50 anarchists that ran through vandalizing a community in Elmhurst, Queens. And Councilman Bob Holder, he spoke about it on Facebook, and he's a very pro-cop, and I get it, fine. And he represents a pro-cop community. And somehow some people are trying to connect this to the Rittenhouse case. And the way it went, they were talking about all the 40 or 50 anarchists. They were breaking up cars and vandalizing them and spray painting. And I'm like, this wasn't a protest. I don't know what they're talking about there, but that wasn't a protest. Because I know how protests are. I've been a part of protests in the past. I know how protests are. You display your message, whether it's from cardboard or, the signs, and then you're marching with people and you're shouting out what you want and what the issues is, and then you walk down. This wasn't what that was. These were anarchists that was running through the community, just breaking shit, just to break shit. Because I was trying to figure out when I was looking at the daily news, okay, so what exactly are they asking for? And it wasn't even expressed by Councilman Bob Holder. He just said these people are bringing up, and he wants to blame de Blasio. And I'm like, wait a second, what are you talking about blaming de Blasio? And I'm no de Blasio fan. I am not a de Blasio fan, but at the same time, I get tired of those political games where they just want to start tossing darts at other politicians because it's just, that's just what you do. Nah, man. Let's break this down, man. Let's dissect this motherfucker. Let's see who exactly these people are and what they're asking for. Because it makes no sense for you to waste energy and go out there and start breaking stuff up for what? What is your message? What is the why? And what I've noticed, news and politicians, they'll talk about the action. They'll say these anarchists are breaking stuff up, but they'll never get to the why. Let's stop these political games. Let's get to the why. Why are you here? Why are you doing this? Figure this out. Now, I do give it up to Mayor-elect Eric. I forgot my brother's name already. Eric Adams. Excuse me. I'm thinking Eric Holder. There's a couple of Eric Holder. There's Eric Holder that was Obama's. Sorry. I'm mixing up all these Erics here. Eric Holder. So there was an Eric Holder that was the Attorney General back from 2009 to 2015, and then there's Eric Holder that is the real name of the guy who shot Nipsey Hussle. Everybody called him Shitty Cuz, and I was like, oh wow, this guy's name's Eric Holder, similar to the Attorney General. And now you have Eric Adams. So my bad if I'm mixing up all these Erics, but Eric Adams, he actually had a press conference with Councilman Bob Holder, and he actually said, listen, I know who these people are. They're anarchists. They don't come from New York. They're not from the community. We arrested a couple of people, and we know they're coming from outside, and they're handling it. Now, I appreciate that he said it in this way, because he wasn't trying to just play those same political numbers and try to rail against the opposite side and talking about the issue of police funding or police accountability and all those things. So I appreciate that he did word it in the way that he did. Now, it sounded like, Councilman Bob Holder, you could call me anytime and you could work this thing out. It sounded like Councilman Bob Holder was trying to make this about police accountability and opposing the shrinking of the police force. And that's what usually politicians do, and that's not what it's about. And I've always said it's not just about shrinking the police force. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I don't understand why I'm so gassy. Bourbon all this. My bad, folks. So I don't understand. It's just not about shrinking the police force. And I was reading some articles some time ago, and they were talking about how the people wanted to shrink the police force, and that's what they're getting at. And I'm like, no, it's just not shrinking the police force in terms of defunding. It's not about that alone. And to me, people are smart enough to figure it out as adults. And this is a progressive article, and I don't know, in a way I would have to find it again and read from what angle and what context they were coming from. But in terms of, they were trying to say that this particular community, they weren't getting what they want in police reduction, and some people actually in the community didn't want that. And it kind of conflates messages here. Listen, it's just not a reduction in police force. It's actually providing the funding to a community that has been economically depressed for so many decades in order to turn around the conditions in the community, in poor communities. Listen, and it could also mean for people to have their own private security in their communities. It could be, I don't know, I'm just saying. And I actually said that some time ago of creating actually the community security force, something like that, security detail, something or other. And then some people are like, what are you talking about? How you listen, it already happens. It already happens in communities as far as having private security that the community controlled. This is not like rocket science. Rochdale Village, people, please look up Rochdale Village. If you even coming from, if you're not from New York, if you're from all over the United States, please Google Rochdale Village. It's a 129-acre community complex. It has 20 buildings, and it has its own personal security team of security department. Better yet, it's Co-op City. It's on 598 acres in the Bronx. It has 35 high-rise buildings. It has its own security department, where if there's any disturbances, the community security goes out there and checks it out. If it happens to be dangerous and they can't handle it, they already have relationships with the local police department, so they can call them in for assistance. Guess how many people have died under the private security department in Rochdale Village at the time when I was working there? Guess how many people died? 0, none, Nobody got beat up. Nobody got harmed. Nothing. If in case it was something that they were in over their heads, guess what? They called the local police and they came by and they handled it. Everybody knew what was going on in Mountsdale Village. Everybody knew who was doing what was doing who, Yeah, everybody knew when it comes to the security department. So this is not something that's out of insane. Like, what are you talking about? We already do it here in New York. So in terms of trying to figure out ways to deal with criminality or to deal with issues, we can take care of that. But also, we need to do things that's going to improve neighborhoods. I was talking about job training, mentorship, job placement, entrepreneurial programs, and funding. And I don't mean loans. I'm talking about grants, social programs dealing with mental health, community financial support. You may be saying, hell, Nova, what are you talking about? That sounds like welfare. Yeah, in a way that sounds like welfare. But when you if that's the only thing you're giving a community and not giving them the tools to work themselves out of poverty, then what you're doing is building dependency. That's what you're doing. And people will be on welfare forever. And they will get into a lackadaisical mode, a lazy mode. Be like, well, if I'm getting money from the city, I don't really have to do nothing. No, you don't do that. You have to give them a roadmap to say, listen, we know you need financial assistance now, but we can't be forever. This is what we're going to do. Choose from these jobs that you want to go to. Here, let's figure out where you want to go and get you off of this in 2 years' time. You are off. You learned a skill, and now you actually are looking for a job within that field, and you can figure it out. It's not just about defunding the police and then taking police away. It's just not about that. You take away police in a crime-ridden neighborhood, guess what you're going to do? Crime is going to flourish. Oh, shit, really? Look at that. Understand what I'm saying? So it's not just that taking police away. And then some police have thought, well, you know what? If you're going to take our money away, we're just not going to patrol the neighborhoods. That's their tactic to try to build up a support for police in the neighborhood. If they pull away and let the crime flourish and see, you didn't really want that in the first place. It's just not about that. Come on, man. Again, this is not rocket science. Everybody knows at a certain age, whether if you were skilled or you were trained, you went to, you had your educational background was in the field, whatever it is, political science, whatever you want to call it, social, whatever you want to call it. Or you actually took the time out to understand what it takes to build up a community. Look, let's stop playing footsies here. We know what it takes. We know what it takes. And we have to put people in positions of power in the political system to make sure that these people get what they need. Okay? Let's stop it. Anyway, so I tried, but sometimes I blab. Anyway, yo, thanks guys for listening to me. I gotta get out here. It's actually my wife's birthday. That's one of the reasons why I got out of here. Happy birthday to my wife. She is and yeah, she's living her life in the best way possible. So I gotta do my part and do my thing, make it a nice little meal and making it, everybody happy. Bop, 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 bop. You know what it is. All right, folks, I'm going to get out of here. Thank you for listening to me. I'll see you guys next week with, you know what I do. All right.
Check it.
You just listened to GCOM Radio, powered by Lyfeblood.com for the global community.
We worldwide, baby.
See you in the next go-round. From right here to your town, we out.